I'm your host, Carolyn Solo, LCSW, EMDR therapist, and mom of 3 daughters. Thank you for joining me.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Future Template Parent podcast. I am Carolyn Solo, and I am very excited to have with me today Danik Bernier, MSW, RSW, a private practice therapist in Ontario, Canada, and also a consultant in training. And we are actually here to announce a very cool project that we're working on. But before we do that, I'm just going to have her introduce herself and tell us a little bit more about herself. So thank you, Danik, for being here. And how about you tell everyone a little bit more about who you are and what you do?
Yes, thank you so much, Carolyn. And I think we should also mention, because this episode will also appear on my podcast. Yeah, so welcome to the Healing Mothers Club podcast.
Oh, yes, thank you. Thank you very much. I forgot about that. And this is
yes,
we're both here.
I'm the host of the Healing Mothers Club podcast, and this episode will appear on both Carolyn and I's podcasts. And I am behind the Instagram account Healing Mothers Club, and for all things EMDR, clinical skills, and business building, I'm at Liberated Therapist Club on Instagram. It's all a club with me. Yes. So as Carolyn mentioned, I'm a EMDR certified therapist and consultant in training. And this year I'm hoping to become a full consultant. And Carolyn is also my EMDR consultant. And I've been in private practice now full-time since 2022. And I've been trained in EMDR since 2022. And I've never looked back. It's changed not only the clinical outcomes of my clients and improved their lives, but also my business and my own life. Mm-hmm. So I'm very much a believer of the modality, of the businesses that we build around the modality. Mm-hmm. And I'm so grateful for Instagram that it brought us together.
Yeah, absolutely. And I talk on my podcast about how you do not need to be on social media to build your EMDR intensives practice. And I do think that's true. However, more and more, I think social media is a vital part of marketing a business, especially if you are hoping to move outside of purely one-to-one clinical work, because you and I never would have met if it hadn't been for Instagram, and we have developed a lovely collegial relationship since that has resulted in a lot of different collaborations and opportunities. And I have found that to be the case with other people I've worked with, that I found them through Instagram. So I am pretty much pro social media for business building, as much as I don't love it for other reasons. But I am very grateful that it brought us together. So
absolutely, likewise. And it brought us to this path of creating something together, which we want to talk about today.
Yes. So do you want to announce what it is? And again, we were talking about this earlier today, and we're like, oh, we don't have a name. We'll come up with a name, a snappy name.
Yeah, we'll come up with it.
But as of now, it is not named. But how about you tell everyone what we are doing?
Yeah, so we've created together a group program for EMDR trained therapists who want to get certified and also build a business that meets their needs, meets their clients' needs, that just makes sense for them. So we're bringing both the clinical aspects and the business building aspects together. Mm-hmm. Folks will be able to attend the meetings, the EMDR group consult meetings hosted by Carolyn and I, so that they're able to get their full 10 hours of EMDR group consultation hours, if of course you show up and you come to consultation ready and all. And there's also really great perks to it as well.
Yes, there are. I think it's not just your standard get your group hours. And number one of the ways it's not, like you've already said, is that we care very much about this blend of the clinical and the business. And I know something that you have mentioned in the past is that when you were in consultation, that was not something that you got at all, was the business building side. Can you say a little bit about that? Because I think that's a common experience.
Totally. Up until this day, I feel like everything that is business building is on one side with business coaches for therapists, and everything that is clinical skills building is on the other side of the spectrum. And my experience was that I had to code switch between the mentors, the consultants who were helping me with my EMDR skills, with my trauma therapy skills. And on the other side, then I had to switch the apps. I had to go to another app and then talk to my coaches on the business side of things. And it just felt like I couldn't be me entirely.
Mm-hmm.
And that the trust was getting built a whole lot slower.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not too sure that the trust aspect and the safety of it all necessarily got to the point where I felt like, yeah, you know what? I can show up as my full self in all of the ways entirely, especially when it came to the clinical side of things. I don't know about you, but there's this like almost fear that is being unnamed with therapists where it's like, oh, I don't want to venture into talking about business things and fee setting things because what if my supervisor, my clinical consultant will judge me? What if they have very strong opinions that go against what I want my business to look like? What if they threw around the word unethical just because they don't agree with what I want my business to look like so that it suits everybody's needs in the end of the day? And so I really struggled with that. And I think that that's what's needed right now, to blend both of these worlds together and to just make it make sense. You know, we don't have to code switch. We can just show up fully as our authentic selves, authentic therapist selves, authentic entrepreneur selves in all aspects.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And I know we've both been working with EMDR therapists in this capacity for a while now, and I think we both see the incredible value of showing up in that way. So a couple of things occurred to me while you were talking that I hadn't thought of before. One of them being that often if we have a business coach, hopefully that business coach is a therapist or has some experience with that world. I mean, certainly that's what I've always looked for, but they're not all that way. But how often are you going to have a business coach who's also an EMDR therapist? And building an EMDR therapy practice is not the same as building a different kind of therapy practice. So we bring that additional perspective to this model, right? That we know what it's like to build an EMDR business, not just a therapy practice. And then the other thing is this idea of like with mentors and supervisors and stuff, like I'm sure you've had this experience too, like having a supervisor or consultant who charges less than you do.
Yes.
And what that brings up.
Yeah, I had that going into certification. I wasn't certified yet, but I was charging more than the EMDR consultant I had hired. And at that time, therapy income was my only income source, and I had to make it work. I have 2 young kids. I have, bills, had to make it work. But there was this huge shame around the need, the want to talk about that, but also having to hold myself back. And so I was like, you know what, when I'm going to become a CIT and a full consultant, this is something that I never want my consultees to feel, is that they can't ask me a question when it comes to their journey as a therapist, because we just can't cut out this whole piece around business building. It's part of their journey.
And we both, I know, do not believe that the answer is see more clients. If you need to make more money, and I think also a therapist who's charging less might call us unethical, but it's their stuff that they are not really facing. It's easy to throw that word around. But I know I've talked about this before on the podcast, that, but there's so much more nuance than that. And that's just a completely beyond unhelpful. It's a harmful framing because it does harm. It prevents a lot of therapists from doing what they need.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know what? Like I've always known this, but I think now is a really good time to share this publicly. The reason why, number one reason why I chose to work with you as my full consultant, aside from the fact that you're very lovely and that we get along and that you are an incredible therapist, clinically speaking, and that we get along great and I feel great with you, is that we can talk about fees.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Because I haven't had that experience before.
Yeah. And I think a lot of people haven't.
Yeah.
And so we just want to not only normalize, but welcome that as part of the conversation. And so that's why I think you and I were like, this is something we should do together. This program is something we can create this really safe, welcoming, supportive, challenging, and all the good ways container to elevate EMDR therapists who want to build practices like these, because it's hard to do in isolation. It's scary to do in isolation, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. And you know what? I think that when we focus too much on the clinical side of things and not enough on the business building aspects of things as well, and that we don't blend the two worlds together, I think, and this is my humble opinion, that's not necessarily based in any, research findings or whatnot, but through my
based in reality.
Yeah, exactly. It's through my observations, anyways, through observing colleagues, that we are less likely to continue using EMDR and to continue getting quality consultation and getting really good at it and confident at it, if we don't get coaching and consultation blended together. Because the whole EMDR, using EMDR as another tool in your toolbox, I don't believe in that.
Yeah, same. It's an entire approach to your practice.
Exactly. If you let it, it can and will revolutionize your practice in all the best ways possible, not just for you as an individual therapist, but for your clients as well, for everybody involved. And yeah, I think that this container is needed. So both the clinical and the business building, the clinical aspects of things, we can expect what we're kind of used to, the 2-hour group calls, where it's capped at 8 maximum, following Andrea's guidelines here. And the business coaching aspect is going to come in as well. And they're more so going to come in as this entirely separate call throughout the month. So 1 call per month when it comes to business coaching stuff, and 2 calls per month when it comes to EMDR consultation.
Right. So obviously the business coaching calls can't be counted towards your certification hours, but that's going to be the dedicated space to that. And I think also the business stuff will come into the clinical because they're not separable for us, but we very much wanted to make sure that was also getting its own dedicated time. So that's why we created that. I had a thought, but that's all right. So let's talk structure since you're kind of going there. So we're intending to start in September. We're still ironing out the dates exactly, but September would be the first of the 2-hour calls and the first hourly call as well, a coaching call, or business coaching. But in terms of the structure of the group, one of the things that I think makes it unique is not only are we having the calls, which are vital and required, but there's also a video course component that is going to go along with the calls. And I think what's really neat about that, and something that I felt like I didn't get in my certification, is that we know that, and we've seen this from our consultees, I know, that everyone's basic training looks very different. I know EMDRIA tries its best to standardize, but every EMDR therapist you talk to, their basic training look different and they learn different things. So we really want to we have a course that we're creating that really make sure it covers a lot of those really vital EMDR skills so that you feel really confident and solid clinically. And I'll just name a couple of the topics that we're going to include. Those include like the AIP model, case conceptualization, treatment planning, the 8 phases, really what those really need to be, because it sounds simple, but a lot of people still have trepidation. Advanced resourcing, cognitive interweaves, parts work, which you and I are both quite trained in. Somatic interweaves, addressing common challenges like looping or when to use interweaves, like feeling anxiety about moving to phase 4, risk assessment, risk management, different clinical presentations and protocols, and maybe not best for last, but very important, you and I are both, like I said, very skilled in working with dissociation and have a lot of experience. And we really wanted to make that foundational piece of this course. And one of the ways in which we're doing that, in addition to having like theoretical content about it, is that you and I recorded, I think it's like an 1.5 hour session where I was the therapist and you were the client, which you very generously agreed to do. You revealed to me that you had acting experience. I'm like, well, you should be the client then. And I think you said it was a sort of a compilation of a bunch of clients that you basically did. And so we did an entire session that covers a lot of this ground. And it was a client who has significant dissociation during the session. So we're teaching and reminding and reviewing all of these skills through the lens of working with a very dissociative client. And so that's going to be part of how we frame all the content. So
Yes.
Can I say a little more about that?
Yeah, absolutely. And as we were recording, I was thinking about the most frequently asked questions EMDR consultees have had whenever I've done one-on-one consults or group consults. There's this thing that happens where, of course, we're all trained differently, even if EMDRIA wants to standardize everything and we want, the core of it to be the same. We will not necessarily receive the same type of information when it comes to dissociation. And I think that most EMDR therapists can be very surprised and shocked at how dissociative somebody can be, even if they appear to be very functional in their everyday life. And that's
Right.
sort of what I wanted to bring to the course, was somebody who's quite functional in their everyday life. But then once we open the EMDR door, the dissociation comes up. And those are the clients that can score lower on the DES scale or just at the 30 score mark. And this is also something we want to approach, the different ways of evaluating dissociation. And so, just to demystify that it's quite common that people show up with CPTSD, even if they've come up to you about a very specific traumatic event.
Right.
And as a therapist who's just trained in EMDR basic training, we're thinking, well, that's great, I know exactly what to do. But then turns out, no, actually there's a whole lot more looping maybe than we were anticipating, or some forms of dissociation that are coming up that we were not anticipating. And then our confidence as a therapist can really go down the drain. And that's where I think, when we're not prepared as to what we can encounter in terms of presentation, our confidence just goes down and we get scared, and we're scared of causing harm, and we're scared of not doing the right thing or the most perfect thing. We realize that sticking to the script as written has its limits. And so that's why it's so important to be well supported in that department, because that's what will ultimately make it possible for you to consider in the EMDR journey.
Right. And I think something else that I thought we did a lovely job of in the the practicum, the sample session, is actually using parts work with a client who has a younger part actually emerge, which is something that I think until you've actually experienced it, can feel really overwhelming, or sort of almost like, does that even happen? Oh, it does. It does. And you, clinician, can learn how to manage it and work with it effectively. And it doesn't have to be terrifying. It doesn't have to be, oh no, I must refer this person out. I would love to create, or not create, work to be part of creating a generation of EMDR therapists who are all on board with working with dissociation, and who are ready and feel confident that they can do it with the skills and with some consultation, that they can go with it, because it is so much more common than we were led to believe in our basic training. And it is not as scary as we're also led to believe it is. So you and I really believe in focusing on that as a skill development area in certification. And I think our other shared specialty, which we will definitely talk about, is intensive EMDR. I mean, obviously, that's what my podcast is about, but I know you talk about it a lot as well. And that's something that we're both very passionate about and care very much about. Yes, and you can do that work even if you're not certified, and you're, you know, you will be getting certified, but we want to encourage you to think in terms of building a business that works for you creatively about, how do I work outside of the 50-minute hour if that's what I want to do?
Absolutely. And I think that EMDR is one of the therapy modalities where the most creativity can happen. Really, sky is the limit with what works for you, what works with the population you typically see. This is where we can really break the mold and just come up with something completely not only creative, but that does meet the needs of everybody involved, both the clients and the clinicians' needs. So the confidence in using EMDR and the safety within and using it that gets created once we get the proper support does positively bleed into the business building side of things, because once we're confident in what we're doing, that we know what to expect potentially, then we're able to give ourselves the green light to go and explore other things when it comes to practice building.
Another really cool element of our program beyond this video course that I think is going to be really fantastic is that I'm going to host this on my Circle platform, which has a message board, which means that you can post messages, questions, you know, updates on cases between our sessions, between the calls, so that that's not the only time you have access to us and to the cohort members. So that, in other group programs I've done, has really been a beautiful element that has had so much value. And also that's where we'll store the recordings of all the, you know, the calls and the video lessons, but it's just a really great container to continue the conversation. And that also reminds me of it, just like how valuable it is to be in a space with other colleagues who are building businesses that have the same values as yours, and how maybe that alone, I think, is worth the price of investing in a course like this, because you are seeing other people doing things that you want to do that maybe you didn't think were possible, and they are doing them, and you can troubleshoot with them, and you can get support from them. You can get that gentle holding your feet to the fire. Like you said, you were going to talk to that client about X. Have you done it? That is worth so much. Having run groups like that in the past and having been part of them, I know the magic in that. That's like the secret sauce. So I think it's not just like, oh, we meet every 2 to 3 weeks, see you guys then. No, there's this ongoing container which creates so much energy and creativity. So I'm so excited about that, just because I know how well it works. I'm not hoping it will work. Like, I have seen it work over and over again. So I'm excited about that.
Absolutely. And like you've mentioned, there really is some magic that happens there. The possibilities are endless. You could come out of there with a friend. with colleagues
Oh, yeah.
that you feel really good around, with opportunities that come up, people
All of those
who,
things have happened to me.
exactly
All of those
people
things.
who
Yeah,
get out of the program, who are starting something new, another type of program, or who are going on to another type of journey and they want to take you with them.
absolutely.
The possibilities are endless, and it's awesome to
Yes.
have that
Really,
networking.
truly. Like I have collaborated on courses with other people. I'm going to a conference in the fall where therapists I have met through coaching are going to be there, and we're finally going to meet in person. Like there's so many cool things. I've been on podcasts, you name it. The stuff that comes out of those things, that's the gift that keeps on giving. One thing real quick to mention before I forget, and then I think we can keep talking about maybe some objections people might have to this, or questions. So the program is going to start in September. We think maybe September 11th will be the first meeting, but we're still ironing out the kinks. Don't want to commit to that, but just to give people an idea. We are going to have a waitlist sale where it'll be $200 off the price of the course, but you have to be on the wait list, and it'll be kind of like a flash sale for a few days. I think that's probably going to happen early August. So we're going to there's a link in the show notes for getting on the wait list, so you get the emails advertising that sale. So you have to be on the wait list to get access to that sale. So just wanted to put that out there. And there's only 8 spots available, so it could fill really fast. So just keeping that on your radar. Yeah, so I just wanted to say that. And then I know, Danik, you wanted to talk some about, what are some, I don't know, objections or misconceptions, things that people might think about that are like, I don't know, is this really the right thing? What are some of the things that you think could be sticking points for people when it comes to investing in something like this?
Yeah, so one of the things that came up to me was how we don't want this program to be perceived as though we're wanting to pressure therapists into a certain type of business model that isn't meant for them. It's actually for you to be challenged in a positive way so that you discover what is meant for you. What is the type of business model with the EMDR lens that is actually made for you? Is it the intensives route? Is it a completely new type of route? How about the fee setting and the structure of the fee? Those are all things that are incredibly important to talk about, and that therapists will end up paying a whole lot more to other coaches so that they can talk about these things in a container that feels safe, because that's what it's meant for, where there's no fear of being judged by other colleagues. But here, this is exactly what we were wanting, so that you end up saving money, actually, so that you don't feel like you have to pay 2 programs at once, one for the clinical side, one for the business coaching side of things. We will talk about all of it together in one point. So one thing that can be sticky is, well, is there some type of expectation that I come out of this program with like a brand new type of business? There's no expectation per se, but what we will be doing is teaching you how to bring your business to where you want it to be, and even figure out, what do you want? What's the diagnostics that we can come up with when it comes to your business and how it works and the gaps that we need to fill.
Right.
So
right.
those are,
and your EMDR business, not just your therapy business.
Yeah.
Again, that we bring that lens that a lot of business coaches, if you were in another program, you wouldn't have that at all. That wouldn't be part of the conversation. Absolutely. And we have that intimate knowledge and competency as clinicians and as business people, therapreneurs, that we can bring. I think too, something else I think that people might worry is like, oh, am I going to get enough clinical, enough business? I think, yes, I'm not worried about that, because the two are inextricable, I think. And I also think that the consultation I had often just felt very scattered. It would be like, hey, who wants to talk about a case today? and there was no structure. And so it didn't feel, and sometimes the groups would be drop-in, which is fine, but it meant that you weren't with the same people who you knew and trusted. And I think for a lot of people, the consultation is a box that you have to tick. It should be so much more than that, so much more. And that was why we wanted to create this very intentional, structured approach.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So
I was thinking of, but now I can't remember.
Well,
Go
one
ahead.
thing that we want to ensure is that you are set to remain profitable, because to be profitable means that you are setting yourself up to not only avoid burnout, but thrive
Yeah.
in your life. And when you thrive in your life, you are a better clinician. You are better, your
You're
clinical
not worrying
skills.
about bills at the same time as you're sitting with a client. That's, I mean, we're not supposed to be doing that, but it's pretty hard when you're feeling really pressed financially to be fully present.
Absolutely. Absolutely, yes. And one other thing that can come up is around the clinical side of things. We're so used to working in silos where there's somebody for our clinical skills, somebody for our business coaching skills, that we might fear that the clinical side of things might take a back burner, or the business coaching things might take a back burner, or vice versa. And I think that we're preventing that in the way that the program is set up. So, having already, yes, these dates for the EMDR group consultation and the drop-ins when it comes to the EMDR business coaching, let's call it that, it's EMDR business coaching. It's going to really take you from point A to point B. That's what we want. And we still have some things to iron out together, Carolyn and I, but something that I'm very passionate about and want to clarify with everyone is that when we're therapists, we're also business owners. And it's important to look at our journey as a therapist business owner as having some milestones and us wanting to achieve certain things, and how okay it is to achieve certain things. For some, it might be, well, I need to see less clients per week and I need to raise my fee. That can be your goal. For others, it can be, well, I would really want to start offering intensives because I want to have that sort of schedule for myself. And for others, it can be, well, you know what? I really want to dabble into some coaching. I really want to offer other types of offers, and how to set you up so that you can finally do that.
Right. I'm so glad you brought that up, because I was thinking about, I think that's what I was going to say, is that you and I have both built other revenue streams. And I am not saying that at all is this the focus of this. Building alternative streams of income is not the focus at all. And it's something that you and I are both very experienced with, from soup to nuts, like from getting an idea to how do you market, to systems, to all that stuff, to how do you hire the right support for your business. We have that experience, and that's going to be part of what we bring too. And I think something else about being profitable too is realizing, I think something that I have learned a lot about, I'm sure you have too, is like, where do you spend money and when, and all those things. We just have a wealth of experience between the two of us that we're going to bring. So it is that you get two consultants with a lot of shared experiences, but a lot of different experiences too. And I think it's really valuable to not just work with one consultant for your entire process. And right here, you're getting two for the price of one. So I think that's a huge asset. So another thing that I think makes this program unique is that you're getting a lot of varied experiences from both of us that are, I think, very enriching, and not necessarily what your average consultation experience, certification experience would be.
Absolutely. And just one thing that I would invite therapists to consider is that if you're wanting to go the certification route, and you will need those hours of consultation, but you're also wanting and are cognizant of the fact that you are a business owner and need help with the business side of things, I would just invite you to really consider how much money you would have to spend when it comes to joining a EMDR group program towards certification. So the EMDR group consultation and a group program when it comes to business building.
Right.
The cost in money spent, but also the time spent code switching between the two, the energy spent in holding yourself back in these containers because you can't just be your full person. There's lots of costs associated to being part of different containers all at once, and not all of those are monetary costs. So this is something to keep in mind for sure. This group program the fee is going to be different than what we typically see when it comes to EMDR group consultation, because it's not your typical EMDR group consultation program.
Right. Yeah. And we don't want it to be either.
Exactly.
Yeah. And I think also your business looks like the businesses of those people that you spend your time with. So being in an ad hoc consultation group with people who are all over the map in terms of the types of businesses you're building will impact you. And being around people who are building, like I have worked with a lot of EMDR therapists who are charging $8,000 for an intensive. Like, you want to be around those people because only then will you learn how to do it and that it's possible. So all that to say, get on the wait list. We are really excited to have this inaugural cohort. And Danik, before we go, is there anything else that you want to add that we maybe haven't touched on, or that you think people should know about this amazing offer that we've created?
I think we touched on all the important points here. And yes, like Carolyn has mentioned, get on the wait list. You can save that $200 fee, that discount. And because the spaces are limited, as you've mentioned, we're expecting that can fill up quite quickly. So we're wanting to start in September potentially, and we're really excited to get going, because once we know who's going to be in the group, and once we know that the cohort is kind of taking place already, then just the magic can happen even before we meet.
Oh yeah, that's something that's nice about Circle, is that once you purchase it, you have access to the message board. So hey, as soon as you buy, if it's the first week of August, start connecting with each other.
Yes.
There's no reason not to. So that's one of the things I love about Circle, is that can happen immediately. And any resources that we share, you have access to right away. So that's cool. So, well, I guess thank you from both of us for being on our podcast.
Yes,
thank you, Danik. And yeah, we are so excited. You'll be hearing more from us about this as we keep developing it. And we can't wait to see you all in September.
Thank you so much.
Well, not all of you, just 8 of you. All right. Take care, everyone.
Thank you.
Talk to you soon.